Hello students. In today's session, let's learn about the search for promising project ideas, which is the first step towards establishing a successful venture. As the traditional adage goes, the key to success lies in getting into the right business at the right time. While this advice is simple, its accomplishment is difficult because good business opportunities tend to be elusive. Identification of such opportunities requires imagination, sensitivity to environmental changes, and realistic assessment of what the firm can do. The task is partly structured, partly unstructured, partly dependent on convergent thinking, partly dependent on divergent thinking, partly requiring objective analysis of quantifiable factors, partly requiring subjective evaluation of qualitative factors, partly amenable to control and partly dependent on fortuitous circumstances. Identification is often the outcome of a triggering process rather than an analytical exercise. While the notion of identification is simple, it is difficult to develop methods or procedures for accomplishing it as there is no well-defined theory to guide this task. And as Gordon and Pinchers observed, these difficulties become more severe as one moves up the hierarchy of organizational decision-making levels because of the relative uniqueness, non-routineness of higher-level decisions as compared to lower-level decisions. With this caveat, this chapter discusses certain broad considerations and guidelines helpful in the generation and screening of project ideas. The objective is to identify investment opportunities which are prima facie feasible and promising and which merit further examination and appraisal. Generation of ideas. Barring truly new ideas which are based on significant technological breakthrough, most of the project ideas involve combining existing fields of technology or offering variants of present products or services. The typical route may be described as follows. Someone with specialized technical knowledge or marketing expertise or some other competence feels that he can offer a product or service which can cater to a presently unmet need or serve a market where demand exceeds supply or effectively compete with similar products or services because of certain favorable features like better quality or low prices. His ideas are endorsed by his associates who encourage him and even show willingness to collaborate with him on the proposal. Finally, he receives support from financial institutions and banks that approve his project and show readiness to finance it. Stimulating the flow of ideas, often firms adopt a somewhat casual and haphazard approach to the generation of project ideas. To stimulate the flow of ideas, the following are helpful. SWOT analysis. SWOT is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SWOT analysis represents a conscious, deliberate, and systematic effort by an organization to identify opportunities that can be profitably exploited by it. Periodic SWOT analysis facilitates the generation of ideas. A clear articulation and prioritization of objectives helps in channelizing the efforts of employees and prods them to think more imaginatively. Fostering a conducive climate. To tap the creativity of people and to harness their entrepreneurial urges, a conducive organizational climate has to be fostered. Two conspicuous examples of organizations which have been exceptionally successful in tapping the creativity of the employees are the Bell Telephone Laboratory and 3M Corporation. While the former has succeeded in harnessing creativity by providing an unconstrained environment, the latter has effectively nurtured the entrepreneurial urges of its employees. At a more mundane level, many organizations, Hindustan Unilever is a prominent example of India, have successfully used suggestion schemes to motivate employees to think more creatively. Monitoring the environment. Basically, a promising investment idea enables a firm or entrepreneur to exploit opportunities in the environment by drawing on its competitive strengths. Hence, the firm must systematically monitor the environment and assess its competitive abilities. This section looks at the monitoring of environmental and following at corporate appraisal. For purposes of monitoring, the business environment may be divided into 6 broad categories. The important aspects studied in monitoring the key sectors of the environment are discussed as follows. The economic sector. Areas which lie under economic sector are state of the economy, overall rate of growth, growth rate of primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, cyclical fluctuations, linkages with the world economy, trade surplus, deficit, and balance of payment situation. Next aspect of study is governmental sector. The areas which lie under governmental sector includes industrial policy, government programs and projects, tax framework, subsidies, incentives and concessions, import and export policies, financing norms, lending conditions of financial institutions and commercial banks. In technology sector, the areas under study are emergence of new technologies, access to technological know-how, foreign as well as indigenous receptiveness on the part of the industry. Concepts which lie under socio-demographic sector are population trends, age shifts in population, income distribution, educational profile, employment of women, attitude towards consumption and investment. In competition sector, the concepts falls are number of firms in the industry and the market share of the top few, 4 or 5, degree of homogeneity and differentiation among products, entry barriers, comparison with substitutes in terms of quality, price, appeal and functional performance, marketing policies and practices. Supply sector are availability and cost of raw materials and sub-assemblies, availability and cost of energy, and availability and cost of money. In corporate appraisal, a realistic appraisal of corporate strengths and weaknesses is essential for identifying investment opportunities which are to be profitably exploited. The broad areas of corporate appraisal and the important aspects to be considered under them are marketing and distribution, in which market image, product line, market share, distribution network, customer loyalty, and marketing and distribution cost. Production and operations, in which condition and capacity of plant and machinery, availability of raw materials, sub-assemblies and power, degree of vertical integration, locational advantages, and structure. Research and development, in which research capabilities of the firm, track record of new product development, laboratories and testing facilities, and coordination between research and operations. Corporate resources and personnel, in which corporate image, clout with governmental and regulatory agencies, dynamism of top management, competence and commitment of employees, and state of industrial relations. Finance and accounting include financial leverage and borrowing capacity, cost of capital, tax situation, relations with shareholders and creditors, accounting and control system, and cash flows and liquidity. Tools for identifying investment opportunities. There are several useful tools or frameworks that are helpful in identifying promising investment opportunities. The most popular one is the Porter's model. Porter model. Profit potential of industries. Michael Porter has argued that the profit potential of an industry depends on the combined strengths of the following 5 basic competitive forces. First, threat of new entrants. Second, rivalry among existing firms. Third, pressure from substitute products. Fourth, bargaining power of buyer. And fifth, bargaining power of sellers. Threat of new entrants. New entrants add capacity, inflate cost, push prices down, and reduce profitability. Hence, if an industry faces the threat from new entrants is low, if the entry barriers confer an advantage on existing firms and deter new entrants. Entry barriers are high when the new entrant have to invest substantial resources to enter the industry. Economies of scale are enjoyed by the industry. Existing firms control the distribution channels, benefit from product differentiation in the form of brand image and customer loyalty, and enjoy some kind of proprietary experience curve. Switching cost. These are essentially one-time cost of switching from the products of one supplier to another are high. The government policy limits or even prevents new entrants. Rivalry between existing firms. Firms in an industry compete on the basis of price, quality, promotion, service, warranties, and so on. Generally, a firm's attempts to improve its competitive position provoke retaliatory action from other. If the rivalry between the firms in an industry is strong, competitive moves and countermoves dampen the average profitability of the industry. The intensity of rivalry in an industry tends to be high when the number of competitors in the industry is large. At least a few firms are relatively balanced and capable of engaging in a sustained competitive battle. The industry growth is sluggish, prodding firms to strive for a higher market share. The level of fixed cost is high, generating strong pressures from all firms to achieve a higher capacity utilization level. There is a chronic overcapacity in the industry. The industry confronts high exit barriers. Pressure from substitute products. In a way, all firms in an industry face competition from industries producing substitute products. Performing the same function as the original product, substitute products may limit the profit potential of industry by imposing a ceiling on the prices that can be charged by the firms in the industry. The threat from substitute products is high when the price-performance trade-off offered by the substitute products is attractive, the switching costs for prospective buyers are minimal, the substitute products are being produced by industries earning superior profits. Bargaining power of buyers. Buyers are a competitive force. They can bargain for price cut, ask for superior quality and better service, and induce rivalry among competitors. If they are powerful, they can depress the profitability of the supplier industry. The bargaining power of a buyer group is high when its purchases are large relative to the sale of the seller, its switching costs are low, it possesses a strong threat of backward integration. Bargaining power of suppliers. Suppliers, like buyers, can exert a competitive force in an industry as they can raise prices, lower quality, and curtail the range of free services that they provide. Suppliers have strong bargaining power when a few suppliers dominate and the supplier group is more concentrated than the buyer group. There are hardly any viable substitutes for the products supplied. Suppliers do present a real threat of forward integration. Hope you have got a good insight on generation of project ideas. Until we meet again, bye.